Well, we're doing a little late work tonight, trying to help catch up around the shop, and I figured it'd be a great time to work on the 57 and work on this intake. Taking this intake off is the intake gasket is leaking in 2 points. One of the great things about these intakes is that because it's got a valley pan, you're not really opening up into the oil portion of the engine, the valley, so that's good. You don't have to take the distributor out to get the intake off. That's even better. And there's only, a couple bolts that are all pretty easy to get to. So we've gone ahead, drained the cooling system, taken the carburetor off, disconnected the hoses. We did find this heater hose nipple is actually almost completely missing on the bottom, so we're going to replace that. We're going to get rid of this spring for the carburetor return that's hooked under a bolt. I'm not a big fan of that. And then we're going to put a new thermostat and gasket in. While we're in here, even though the cooling system looked clean, and yeah, we've got a new radiator and hoses on there, it probably doesn't need it, but we're in here, we're touching it. It would be stupid not to do it now. So let's go ahead and get the intake ripped off. You see that hole right there, and then on the other side you've got one. All right, oh, sorry about this. You got another one right here. These go directly into the exhaust ports. This isn't in use and it's not capped off, so it was just blowing exhaust out of here, and you can see it cooked all the paint off around there and everything. We are going to block these off. We're also probably going to clean this up. I know I shouldn't paint this, but I cleaned this. I didn't paint that, and it looks way more red and brighter and better. This, kind of dingy. So the thing is, though, if I just paint the intake, then the heads are going to look like crap, and the valley pan's going to look like crap. I think I'm not going to paint it then. Yeah, I know. Well, thanks for sitting with me while I talk myself through that. Go ahead and knock out an oil change on this thing, too. I have no idea how old the oil is in here, so we're going to go ahead and change it and install a new Motorcraft oil filter. We're going to go ahead and adjust these rockers. They're a little bit noisy, and it's been sitting a while, and now we got fresh oil in it. We're going to run those. Be careful with these oil feed lines. Not all Y blocks have them, but you want to be careful with those. And if you're replacing the valve cover gaskets, make sure you replace these grommets too, because they are probably dry and cracked, like this one is pushing apart right here. So let's get these off. Looks like they used a rubber gasket on here, but that's a good sign. Inside here, pretty clean also. Really not a whole lot of dirt, debris. The oil looks nice. We just changed that. And everything else looks good. Everything looks like it's getting oil too. There's oil sitting on top of all of the top of the valve springs. So that's good. Let's go ahead and set it over. Get our engine in the right position. Get these valves adjusted. Now, make sure if you have an aftermarket cam that you're checking the specs on your cam, what it requires. The factory is like 18 or 19 thousandths on this. I also like these feeler gauges because they're bent, so you can slide them in there a little bit easier. You can either bar the motor over by hand with a ratchet like we have down there, or you can jump the starter solenoid with the ignition off and just bump the engine over with a button or bridge it with a screwdriver. Just make sure you have everything in the right position. There's 2 or 3 ways that people like to adjust valves. I'm not going to go over that, but we've finished adjusting this side. We're going to move on to the other side and see if it's any quieter. So much quieter. a little bit of tick on that side, but I'm not going to adjust them any further than that. That is pretty damn good. Well, now that we have the intake resealed, we've adjusted our valve train, we had one last thing to sort out, and that was the carburetor. The carburetor that this thing originally came in with was leaking profusely everywhere. Also, it wasn't the right carburetor. I'm not saying it wasn't a 2-barrel carburetor for a Ford, it just wasn't the one that would have came on here, and the base was a little bit different, causing vacuum leaks. So this thing would have came with a 2300 style Holley on here, and we just so happened to be able to find one online. Now this is not a Holley brand one, but it is identical to a Holley. You can call it a knockoff if you want. It looks just like a Holley. Let me show you. Everything about this looks exactly like the Holley 2-barrel, except it doesn't say Holley on it. Works great, electric choke and everything, and it fires up. So let's see how it runs. Now we got the carburetor adjusted. We got to get the transmission shift linkage adjusted. But man, we got to fix these lights too, and the speedometer. This thing needs an alignment so bad. Woo! So as far as these lights on the dash, this one was staying on. That is to indicate that the trunk and the top are completely closed. That's your oil light. That's your voltage light. This one's staying on, so we got to fix it. I don't like operating these tops because I'm always worried that something's going to fail on them. But we had to get in here anyway. We got to get all this crap cleaned out of the tracks and see if we can get this thing to latch. And we'll go ahead and take care of those while we're at it, I guess. In case you're wondering how these things work, look, there's the mechanism. Isn't that wild? Running great, sounding amazing. We do still have a little bit of dialing in to do with the accelerator pump and the mixture, but we're well on our way. And then we just have a couple odds and ends to handle on this, so we're ready to go. Well, that's pretty much it for the 57. I mean, we've got everything working now. The light's fixed and it's tuned in and it's dialed in and it's working great. But there's still some more future work to need. Let's try that again. That wasn't even fucking English. I don't know what the hell that was. This is why it takes me so many clips to do this. Like, I usually only have to do like 1 or 2 takes on most clips, but some nights it's just really rough. But anyway, so the 57, we've got a couple things left on it, you know, just for another day. This was the first session of work. We did find some other things along the way that need to be done. So in the future, we're going to be doing some videos on different repairs on that car as well. One of those things is going to be fixing the parking paw issue, because when you put it in park on a hill, it makes a loud clicking noise and continues to roll. Not very safe, especially when the customer has a sloped driveway. So even though the park and brake works, we're going to fix that because it is very important, because relying on the park and brake's not always the best thing. Sometimes that doesn't work. We're going to fix it. So we're going to be dropping the pan and checking out the parking paw and seeing if we could fix that. We're also going to be redoing the rear suspension. Unfortunately, the rear suspension has been neglected, and then it was repaired in a not so satisfying way. So we're going to be doing some repairs on the rear axle as well. Look for those videos. If you have any questions about any of this stuff that we have done on this car, any of the products that we've used, please feel free to message us at greasyboycustoms@gmail.com or drop a comment below, and I'll try my best to respond in a timely manner. Till next time, happy hot rodding.